Good morning, everyone. I have a few slides. Okay, can we go to the next slide? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. So, Anglophone West Africa is actually made up of 5 economies, where Nigeria and Ghana are, of course, the largest economies in the region. While most of these economies are dependent on one natural resource or the other, Gambia is the only tourism-dependent economy. As a result, Gambia was the economy to grow by the fastest amount in 2021. That's majorly because the tourism sector was the hardest hit by the pandemic. Okay, let's go to the next slide. From the next slide, we see that vaccination levels across Macroeconomic West Africa is quite low, and it is even below the 20% target that was set for Africa. We see that global peers are trading around 60%, while Nigeria is just around 2%. For other smaller economies like Liberia and Ghana, they've been able to achieve close to the 20% target. The next slide, please. So we see that while Russia and Ukraine are major commodity producers, we note that the exposure of the region to Russia and Ukraine is quite low. But our worry is that the items that are being imported into the region are inelastic in demand. And what that means is that you cannot escape the price increases. Therefore, from the next slide, we'll see something else. From the next slide, please. We see that all currencies experience some form of pressure following the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The only outlier there is the Liberian dollar, and that's because Liberia itself has been facing a long-standing currency shortage, which actually led to the printing of banknotes in recent times. However, for the Ghanaian cedi has actually been under pressure for a while, and that's majorly because it's a floating currency and it's also a net oil importer. And of course, the dual downgrade of its credit rating by Moody's and Fitch also contributed to soar investment appetite. There were some news that, of course, Ghana is really reliant on Eurobonds, but this year, due to the rising yields in the US, Ghana has been unable to meet the market. We all know that, of course, Ghana produces oil, gold, and cocoa. But for gold, we've seen that from empirical evidence that when the Fed goes hawkish, gold prices tend to go lower. And that's another negative impact on Ghana. For now, we've seen metal prices pick up, but again, we will see how that narrative plays out. From the next slide, across the region, inflation has actually been on the rise. The rising burden of high energy prices led to protests in Sierra Leone, fuel shortages in Nigeria. We saw jet fuel scarcity in Liberia, and we also saw reduced labor hours for drivers in the Gambia. We note here that in the Gambia, there's a cap on transport prices. So due to the limitations on transport prices, the Gambian drivers have to spend less time on the road. In the case of Nigeria, although there is subsidies, right, but Nigeria experienced a fuel crisis when off-spec PMS was imported into the country, and the lag in replacing that off-spec PMS resulted in inflationary pressures. However, Ghana has faced more inflationary pressure than any other nation. Just yesterday, we saw inflation print 23.6%, and what that means is that Ghana is under pressure. The Ghanaian Central Bank actually increased interest rates earlier in the year by about 250 basis points, and we expect more rate hikes to come as definitely the inflation is high, and Ghana's exposure to the exposure of portfolio investors to Ghana is quite high. So definitely Ghana would have to increase interest rates. Combining this, of course, with monetary policy normalization in the US, this means there are more woes for Ghana in the future. However, there are still some bright news from the revenue mobilization efforts following the implementation of the e-levy. And from the next slide, what then will be the impact of the tensions on growth? The IMF released its upgraded its forecast for Nigeria and downgraded the forecast for every other country. However, in-house at Vetiva, given the current economic happenings, we have a lower estimate for Nigeria of about 2.3% in 2022. We note that this figure might be revised downwards further because of the political instability which may arise as a result of the 2023 elections, and of course, as a result of the threat of another fuel crisis, given the debt owed to the Independent Petroleum Market Association of Nigeria. So these factors could actually weigh on growth in the economy. Manufacturing could actually slow, and of course, that informs expectations for Nigerian economy. For Ghana, of course, empirical evidence actually supports the fact that increased volatility could actually weigh on growth. And from historical evidence, Ghana's growth could slow to 2 to 4% in 2022. For other economies that are smaller, we expect multilateral support from the IMF and the World Bank to support these economies as they recover from both the pandemic, Ebola in Sierra Leone, and of course, the impact of the Ukraine-Russia tensions. So thank you, and that is our expectations for Anglophone West Africa.